Beauty has its price task, Stage 1 in Lake Ribiere, Quebec. Hello there everybody and welcome to another exciting episode of SnowRunner here at Overfed Gaming. You're listening to the Overfed. We are in the Beauty has its price task, which is part of the Northern Trails Travel Company contract. In that contract we got to pick up 4 vehicle spare parts and 2 bundles of short logs and bring them up to the mountain cabin. Now we've already delivered the 4 vehicle spare parts and we're just finishing the second part of this stage 1 of the contract by picking up the short loads here with our Avenhorn A15 at the logging site. Now we are in the top right hand corner of the map and we're going to be traveling towards the center of the map at a little bit of a downwards angle, and then we got to head north to this mountain cabin to be able to deliver the 2 bundles. We got a few problem areas like this one right here, but if you take care and keep an eye on the ice and see where the dark shiny parts look like they're fairly frozen solid, so that's where we're going to be driving. Now the Avenhorn doesn't have too much trouble with deep snow, mud, even climbing a few hills, and that's why we picked them for this job. We got a little futon trailer, they call it, behind us, which has only got a single axle, and it makes it for a little bit easier pulling than the trailers that have the double axle. Now when you're driving the Avenhorn through this area, as you can see right in front of us, I was going to go to the right hand side and I quickly dropped through the ice, and before I got any deeper or stuck in or any further, I thought I'd back up and, well, let's go on the left hand side. Let's see if that's any better. You can see the road on the other side, or the tracks where we got to get to. But this seems to be a little bit better direction to go, I believe. It looks pretty solid over here. That was the better way. And like I always say, go slow, go slow. Because had I gone a little faster and maybe pursued falling through the ice there a little bit more, I might have got stuck to the point where I wouldn't have been able to get out. So always remember, go a little bit slower so you can back out of any kind of trouble. Now just up here, when I initially went up here, I went to the left. Made a huge mistake because I had to go to the right. Now I'll spare you all the time that it took me to turn it around and finally get back in the right direction. So, but here we are. We are now going back towards the right direction. We got a little bit of climbing to do. And there again, if you go slow enough with the Avenhorn, there's not too much trouble. And if you do have a problem, there's trees close enough by that you can just give it a little bit of a pull with the winch and just get it over the last little ridge, so you can get going again. Over here, we're going to stay on the right hand side. I'm not sure where that track on the left goes to, but we're going to stay on the right hand side here, and we are coming over the top of the mountain, so we're going to be heading back down towards ice level. And then once we get down to ice level, we're going to travel a little bit south because we got to get across that body of water, but there's no ice right over here. Now when you're coming down a hill like this, I normally would shift it like I'm doing right now. I'm glad I did that in time. Shift it into low. Let the engine and the gearbox hold you back. This is a pretty steep hill. And if you leave it in automatic or high range of the low gear, you might go a little bit too fast and might end up at the bottom of the hill minus a load or 2. So shift it down, go a little bit slower, and then when you get to the bottom, you can put it back into the high range of the low gear and continue on your travels like normal. Now we're almost at the ice level here, but we don't see any ice across the water yet. So we're going to have to travel south for a little bit, and like I said, then we're going to go across the ice and then move in an upward angle towards the mountain cabin. It's pretty rough going here. You don't have a lot of traction, and if you're not quite sure, well, there's some, looks like some solid ice over there, so we'll see if we seem to be able to get through that part. And we got one more little swamp here. Whenever you see a little bit of a muddy or bad area like this in an intersection, always try to avoid it as much as you can. Now I can't go to the left much further, because then I could end up flipping the truck. But if I would have gone further to the right, I might have been stuck in there for a while. So try to avoid those areas if you can, at all costs. Now when we get over here, we got to get down to ice level, and you can see that rocky area straight in front of us. And we're going to turn to the right, just in front of it. Now, in hindsight, in later videos, if I would have gone a little bit further straight and then turned where that tiny, lonely little pine is to the right, we could have avoided this here area altogether. But I wasn't aware of that until at a later date. So this is probably the last time I'm going to be going through this part of the map. Now I wanted to go to the right hand side because it looked like it was a little bit more solid, but the ice wasn't cooperating with me, so I figured the best thing to do is just to stick as close to the left hand side where the rocks are as possible, and hopefully we can get a little bit of traction over there. Get around the corner. But like I said, had I gone straight instead of already turning down to the ice, then I would be turning left a little bit further down the road, and I'd be coming out right over here and avoid all the ice. So explore that option if you're ever coming through here, because that's where we're going to go next time. Now we got to just climb up this little ridgy area, and you can see there's ice, and there might be a place to be able to cross over. Now, we haven't seen a lot of the breakaway ice in any of the maps here in Quebec yet, in either harbor or Lake Ribiere, but there's some coming up, and I'll show you what it does. It's a little freaky when you see it for the first time, and it kind of throws you for a loop, because you don't know what to do. But if you're ever in a situation when you're crossing and you can see that ice in the middle, just in the crossing there, and if you ever enter a crossing like this and the ice disappears, just like that, just keep going. Go into the water. Now I should have gone a little bit further to the left, and I'll adjust the truck here. But even though the ice disappears, it means that the water is not deep enough to cause a problem, but it just meant to just throw you off the track a little bit. Now here again too, I should have made this circle a little bit wider to the left and then come back to the right, and then I would have avoided that. But I didn't do that. I didn't realize where the breakaway ice was there. Now here again too, go a little wide to the right, and then turn just in front of that hole in the ice. And I found that I used to go through here in different ways, different routes. I take different routes every time. But I found that if you're going to go through here, if you stay on this side and brake and go over this break right here up ahead, that's probably the easiest and best way to get over this ice. Just like that. And then once you're over top of that, we're going to get into this here gulch, where we actually did quite a bit of work just up ahead, where we had a center area where we did a lot of repair on bridges. It's a central area, just a little ways down the road. So we've been here a few times. Absolutely wonderful. The Avenhorn just keeps on chugging. There doesn't seem to be a lot that'll stop it. Sometimes it slows down a little bit, but there's nothing really, unless of course the mud or snow gets really, really deep. Now that bridge up ahead there, up above us, is one of the main bridges that we repaired a little while back. It sure helped with the traffic going from one end of the map to the other. That's why we always like to preach, boy, when you first come to a new map, it's got to be the watchtowers and clearing the roads and fixing the bridges. Those got to be the most important things to do, because that way it gives you access to the rest of the map. Now this here trail looks like just like a swampy mud hole. It takes a little bit of effort to get through it, but we don't really have a lot of choice. Now, just like some of the other times, every once in a while I get into a task and we're driving along and we're so committed to the task and where we're going and what turns to take, we totally forget to look at our gas gauge. And as you can tell, it's just turned red and we're down to 63 liters out of the 400. And I sure hope we have enough left to make it up to the mountain cabin, because we still got a little ways to go. And probably a good idea to fuel it up off the Defender tank. Yeah, we got 160 liters left there. Now we got just over 200, so let's hope that that's enough, boys. Yeah, this was the central area for bridge building, I suppose you could call it. Now we're going to keep on trucking, and we're starting to head north now. And we're about in the middle of the map, I'd say, and we're pretty much heading straight north, almost to the top of the map, to where the mountain cabin is. Now we got a few more dicey areas to go through. No really big issues, but still a few scary ones. But first we got to get through this here little mud hole, and then we got some ice that we got to go over, and well, like I said, still a little ways yet left to go. But the direction that we got to go into is pretty straightforward. There's really not a different direction you can go. Now, take it a little bit tight to the left. We could have gone straight and over the water, or over the ice, but I'm not too sure about how solid the ice would be. I think I tried it once a while back and decided that going over this path over this rocky, snowy area, it's not really longer and a lot less perils. Because if you would have gone over the ice, you would have had to climb up out of it somewhere around here, right here to the right hand side, I believe. And now we got to turn left and stay with the gully and go straight north. Now, as you can see, the drop-off location marker box is up on the screen, meaning that we're getting close. And of course, like always, the box shows you where the drop-off location is according to how the crow flies. But in this case, it's pretty close, because this is about how we're going to go. Bring it over to the other side, to the right-hand side, so we can get up on that mud track there. Just like that. Now, straight ahead of us, you can see that little white hill going straight up the hill. That's where we gotta go. That little narrow white passage. We could follow this track if we wanted to, but then there would be too tight of a turn on the right-hand side up ahead, so we don't want to do that. Now, when you get to right here, you could hang a left here and go onto the ice and follow the ice, or maybe not there. Sorry, maybe you better do it over here. It looks like it'd be a little easier way to go. But you can follow along the ice as long as you stay on the left-hand side. I've also found that out later too. There's two ways to go up, that way or the way I'm going. And the way I'm going is not that difficult, but you got to make you got to jockey the truck back a little bit once. You can try and crawl over top of these rocks if that's what you like to do, but with the logs swaying back and forth, I didn't want to take a chance on dumping the load. So I thought we'd go to the end, and it looks pretty solid up here. And then turn around this rock here and go up the little ski slope. I couldn't quite make the turn here. Now this angle of this little hill, of course, it looked a lot steeper from back a little ways, and even when you're on the hill itself trying to climb up, it looks fairly steep. But it's actually really not much more than a bunny hill. Now take the climb a little wide here, and then crank it tight to the left once you get closer to the top, about right here. Because the road is right there to the left and then goes straight back up again. Like I said, the Avenhorn, not a lot stops him. He just keeps on chugging. Boy, we're getting closer and closer to the top of the mountain. But it looks like that cabin right up there is where we're heading. Now, of course, once we get up to the top of the mountain, because we're down to just over 100 liters left in the Defender, our spare tanks are empty too. We better put a little bit of fuel in our truck here with the little Scout fuel carrier. So we'll just fill the main tank up to 400 liters. And I should have filled the Defender tanks up too with that 160 spare liters, but I forgot, which is okay. We got the 400, and it's not going to take us anywhere near to get up there, and we can always come back and get more if we so desire at a later time. Now we just got to climb around this mountain, and then the entrance is on the other side. Now the one thing I did is I wanted to go a little bit wide here because I didn't want to have to climb up those chunks of rocks, and I kept the steering wheel turned and I kept going, and I probably should have stopped and maybe backed up and repositioned the truck, but I didn't, and I almost lost it. Wow, absolutely awesome. He still made it through here. Fantastic. And then just one tiny little climb left to go, and I think our delivery is going to be successful. There's the other Avenhorn that brought up the 4 vehicle spare parts. He's done his part of the job, and now we're going to finish ours. Fantastic. Good video, and I hope you enjoyed it. And come back to OpenFed Gaming again real soon. If you don't want to miss any of the upcoming videos, and we got some good ones coming up, hit that subscribe button. Anyhow, until the next time, you've been driving in an Avenhorn A15, delivering 2 bundles of short logs up to the mountain cabin with me as your driver, the OpenFed.